You embody it until you become it. And look, don't misunderstand me. Most of the time, I still have to remind myself, okay, I'm not in alignment with who I want to be. Let's come back, right? It's a daily practice. It's like sweeping the floor, right? Dust accumulates. You got to sweep every day, so to speak. This is an ongoing thing with no finish line. But I tell you what, if you get it right more days than you don't, your life will begin to change. And it might be as simple as just tapping into the energy of her, taking the green shot, going for a walk around the block, reaching out to the friend that you've been thinking about, writing a page of the book, doing that sales call you've been putting off, whatever it is.
Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Ati Grinspun. I'm a personal branding coach and business strategy, and I help you, coaches and service providers, figure it out what to post, what to do on and off social media so you can consistently get clients and grow your business. Okay, I am so freaking excited for today's guest because I met her at a networking event. Actually, I met her at Powerhouse last year and I got her book. And your book is just so amazing. Alessia Citro, am I saying it right?
Oh, no, we should have done this pre-recording. I got to
I
get
know,
better.
that's okay. That's okay.
I got to get better about correcting people on pronunciation of my name and making sure they know it. It's Alessia, like lace.
Alessia.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Really, it should be
Alessia.
Alessia, but no.
Alessia, I love this. This is why, like, it's okay. People can see that we're like fucking real people, right?
That we are.
Alessia Citro is the author of Higher Self Habits, the scientific, strategic, and spiritual framework to get out of your own way for good. You should have called it for fucking good.
There's plenty of F-bombs between the covers. I was like, oh, maybe I should keep the front cover clean. But you know what? The next book, you never know.
Oh, it's already coming out?
It's in the works.
It's in the works.
Yeah. Beginning to work on it. It'll be a daily reader. That's all I'll say for now.
My people already know I like to make the first question the one thing that can change everything for them, even if they listen for 5 minutes. So for you today, I kind of want to ask you, what was the single most powerful habit that transformed your life? And how can my listeners apply it today?
So the answer is probably not as transformational as what I learned from it. So I'll just lead with that. But the habit that started it all, that truly began to transform my life, was taking a daily greens shot.
Ooh, okay. So your book actually has a lot of science, quantum physics, spirituality. Can you go into that? What actually that translates to people? Because I feel like that for somebody else maybe is drinking their glass of water in the morning, or maybe is whatever that is. So go.
Yep. Yeah, me telling you to take a daily green shot in the morning, it may change your life, it may not. Even in the book, it's not about the habit you choose. It's about doing the habit that you choose every day as a means of building self-trust and thus self-confidence. Once you know that you can actually keep your word to yourself, your whole life will change.
My follow-up question is, what made this habit so life-changing for you? But the truth, you just went to it. So can you speak a little bit to that? So you have so many, I actually have so many notes. I'm actually going to use one. In your book about Be Her Now. That's kind of like everywhere in your book. And I talk about it a lot in my podcast. And you're like the perfect person to come here and explain what that concept really is.
Yes. I actually have it tattooed right here on my forearm. Those of you watching on video will see. Be her now. Actually, be here now with the her underlined. That might be a hint of something to come. I'll leave that there.
Ooh.
But it's so important to tap into the version of you that you know you were created to be. And if you're not clear on that, just tap into the version of you that you want to be today. The version of you you're aspiring to be, take care of herself. I bet she does. So what does that look like day in, day out? For me, the gateway drug, so to speak, that opened up Pandora's box to habits was loving myself enough to get my greens first thing in the morning. And then that snowballed into all these other things and eventually writing a book on it. Why this works when you are in that energy of future you, acting as if you're her. It's not a fake it till you make it. I actually don't buy into that because the energy of faking it is not what we're
Yeah.
after. You embody it until you become it. And look, don't misunderstand me. Most of the time, I still have to remind myself, okay, I'm not in alignment with who I want to be. Let's come back, right? It's a daily practice. It's like sweeping the floor, right? Dust accumulates. You got to sweep every day, so to speak. So this is an
Mm.
ongoing thing with no finish line. But I tell you what, if you get it right more days than you don't, your life will begin to change. And it might be as simple as just tapping into the energy of her, taking the green shot, going for a walk around the block, reaching out to the friend that you've been thinking about, writing a page of the book, doing that sales call you've been putting off, whatever it is.
So what are the
Back up.
actually what are the most common mistakes? Because I think, okay, from somebody like me that I love habits, when I go to your book, what I love the most about it, I think I told you this in person, but it was like, okay, it's a very feminine take on the habit. I don't buy anymore. I did at the beginning on the push
Mm-hmm.
into the habit. So I feel like those were the common mistakes that I made because I was reading books by people that I was not aligned with.
Yeah,
And
I'm
I
so glad
didn't
you
know
brought
it.
this up. Yep.
What are some of those common mistakes? Because I don't think that when I look at Alex Hormozzi, I'm like, good for you, dude. But I'm sorry. When I look at your life, besides the millions you make, I'm not aligned with anything he does. So I don't want to build my habits around do it anyway and like this push energy. Now that doesn't mean I don't do things I don't want to do. I still am out of my comfort zone. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Okay, I love this question and I love the nuance around it too, because yes, it's not all about, oh, I'm just going to go anyway. The wind blows me and I'm just going to honor how I feel. And if I feel like laying on the couch all day and eating bonbons, that's what I'm going to do. That's not what we're advocating here. And
No,
also,
no.
you still do have to do things that you don't quote unquote feel like doing. And I think what you just said about like Hormozy is a great example. I love his content, and yet I have to take all of it with a grain of salt because I know that if I were to try to implement it the way that he teaches, I would crash and burn and hate my life. Why? Because it's a very masculine, energetic approach. So I'm glad you bring this up. I talk about this in the book, probably not enough. Let me give a really quick rundown of why women need to take a slightly different approach to habits than men do. And I want to preface this with the fact that aside from myself and Jen Sincero, who wrote Badass Habits, every single book any of you listening have heard of around habits has been written by a man. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's a bad thing. They're incredible books that actually helped me a ton. So shout out to James Clear for Atomic
Yeah.
Habits.
Yeah.
Shout out to Dr. BJ Fogg for Tiny Habits. Shout out to Dr. Stephen Covey for the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and on and on and on, right? There's a lot of them in the space, but there weren't many women. So why does
Yeah.
it matter? Because the male approach is different. Men operate on a 24-hour hormone cycle. Every day for them is like Groundhog Day from an energetic hormonal perspective. You and I and anyone else with 2 X chromosomes, we're on a 28-day-ish cycle, right? So I cannot do the same thing every day because I am not the same woman every day. In fact, if I'm lucky, I'm 4 different versions of me throughout the month, depending on the phase of my cycle that I'm in. At worst, I'm a few more. And you can just ask my husband. He'll validate that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if any of you are listening to this and you're like, is that why I cannot get myself to eat the same thing for breakfast every day, to do meditation every day, or do affirmation or exercise, or whatever this thing is that you're trying to cram into your morning routine? And I'll pick on the morning routine because that's the thing that we've all been told. You have to have a good morning routine. That's the mark of success. Well, if you're trying to do the same thing day in, day out, and you haven't been able to, this is why. You weren't designed to do that. So what if instead you could have it be more of a menu? Hey, these are the different practices and habits that make me feel supported throughout the day. Which one do I feel like choosing today?
Oh my God. I love that you just said that because that took me so long to get there.
Me too.
And like,
That's why I had to write a book and figure it out.
That's just crazy. Well, it took me so long because I was so into the whole getting up at 5 a.m, like the savers from Miracle
Yes,
Morning.
Hal
And
Elrod,
then I was,
yes.
well, only like 7 years later, I realized that my best time of the day to work out was in the morning. After doing 10 years of triathlon and getting up at 4:30 in the morning, I was constantly feeling constrained. And
Yes.
now I do yoga at 5 p.m. every day.
Yeah, there. See. You know, Savers is actually such a great example. So, if you're not familiar with Hal Elrod's Miracle Morning, you know, for those of you listening, he created this framework where you spend an hour in the morning doing these 6 different things, 10 minutes each. So, the acronym Savers stands for silence, which is like, you know, meditation or prayer, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, and then scribing or journaling. I love it. I actually did the Miracle Morning for a while and then I got burned out.
Well, what happened to me is I think that this is what I think that is for our listeners such a takeaway when you talk about the menu, which is now you're giving yourself room for you to ask yourself, how do I feel?
Yeah.
What do I need? And you don't need to like feed a square like peg on a round hole,
Yep.
right? And then all of a sudden you still giving yourself the time, but you're in the driver's seat of that thing. And for
Exactly.
me, the 10 minutes felt so fucking rushed. One thing I learned about myself was I need time to sit with things.
Me too. I wonder if that's like a more of a feminine trait too. Like I want to go deep.
We live in a world that is so fucking fast. We are like moms, like even this morning, right? Like we had actually a go away party for a family member last night. So I went to bed a little bit later than usual. And I woke up and, you know, I still have to do breakfast and I still have to do a school drop off. As women, I'm not saying men don't have all of these. They also have their thing, but like we have so many details on our
Yes.
plate. We need time to look at your business, to look at your life and to actually process. And life is just modern life is so fucking fast.
It is. Yeah. So is like speeding through this to-do list of a morning routine really like the best thing that you need to slow down? It's a little little counterintuitive, right?
Exactly. So, okay, so the menu, your way is kind of the menu. And what are some of the things that you recommend or that have worked for you in that menu?
Okay, I love this question. I think a good way to begin viewing it is just taking note of like if you do a meditation or you listen to a prayer on, like I'm on a big Hallow app kick right now with it being Lent. Like if listening to a prayer on there feels good, if journaling feels good, if you want to sit with Hape in the backyard looking at your garden, if you want to stretch and do yoga, like note the things that really make you feel good and then make a difference throughout the day and then begin building your quote unquote menu off of that. But also like what are like the anchor points of the menu? Like, let me give you an example. When you go out to dinner, you're probably ordering something to drink. Your go-to, you know, iced tea. Is it coffee? Is it, I don't drink anymore, but like, is it wine? Whatever the anchor point is that you need to make the experience feel complete, make sure you're including that too. Let's go with coffee as like a literal example. For me, like my morning does not get started until I have that first sip of hot coffee. I love coffee. I tried to get rid
For
of
me,
it
it's my
once and I was
mate
like,
girl. Like, you know, like
gotta
my
have it.
Argentinian mate, my morning cannot happen. I cannot function.
It's the ritual of it too. I actually heard this from a friend of mine years ago. I have mindfully adopted it. When you take that first sip of hot coffee or hot lemon water or hot tea, I don't care what it is, pick your drink of choice. That first sip, can you drink it with the intent to receive and be open to receiving throughout the day? Maybe that's the anchor point. And I want to say too, like as a busy mom, that might be the one part of the menu you actually get to. Like my kid is homesick today. I did a little bit of things that made me feel good, read some scripture, did a little bit of journaling while she was laying on the couch. But like today wasn't a great
Shit that can
day.
happen. I actually was
Yeah.
in a client's call and she was saying how she's like, I'm trying to put my kids in like the gym like daycare and then do 30 minutes of my workout and get an hour and a half of my work done. And I was like, what if we actually start with, we feel successful if your kids actually stay in the daycare for 30 minutes, because she has a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. There is so many things that need to go as planned for you to feel like this was a successful morning.
Yeah.
But you have a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, and that is, what can you control about the situation?
Not
You can
much.
control you getting up in the morning,
Yeah.
and possibly getting the kids in the car.
Yeah.
Not every single morning. Let's talk about that a little bit. You have a framework, actually. Can you walk us through that framework? Because I think this will bring me to the next question, when people are stuck and they're feeling like all over the place. And
Yeah.
your framework is so amazing.
I created it by accident when I was cleaning up my own life. Oh yeah, here's a part of the story where, I'll just give you like a Cliff's Notes version. I was a very successful online wine dealer. So I created and now I don't drink, right? So I started this online wine business, and to make a long story short, 2020, the thing like blew up, was super successful, and I became a product of the product. I was drinking way too much. Part of the process of how I walked away from that business and alcohol was by accidentally creating this method. So there's 5 stages to it. The first is that you need to become aware. You need to become aware of a problem before you can fix it. So what is it that's in the way? Where are you blocking yourself? Like, what is the barrier that we need to overcome? The second step is alignment. Like, who were you actually created to be? Are you getting closer to that version of you day in, day out? If not, there's an exercise in the book that'll give you more details, but here's what I'd recommend. Write a eulogy as if you lived to a very ripe old age and had like a fantastic life. Is the path you're on today getting you to that endpoint? That'll help give you some clarity. So you align to that version of you, then you know what you need to do, more or less, to get you there. So then it comes time to audit. Now,
this is where people they're like, yeah, no, they're like out.
well, and also I wanted to stick with all A's, if you noticed, right? People hear audit and they're like triggered thinking about, the IRS agent that's like reading their file or whatever. I know. I wish there was a better word.
Well, I think people also think audit, and what they're thinking is, I'm going to see all the shit I'm doing wrong.
You know what? That's a good point. It's not actually going to be that painful, though. Here's where it's going to show you what you should maybe focus on, because most people are focused on the wrong stuff, including me. I wrote a book that I myself needed. Okay. So like, don't think when I'm saying this, like, I don't have all the answers either. I'm certainly not perfect, but here's what's been working. When you audit, you're looking through the framework of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Most of us, when we set goals and we're thinking about what we want to do day in, day out, we're thinking about like the top of the pyramid stuff, which, if you're not familiar with the framework, there's 5 quick stages. There's, at the base of this pyramid, physiological needs, things that keep you alive. Next is safety and stability, security needs.
Yeah, you need food, you need your home. Okay,
Yep.
keep going.
You need, steady income coming in. You want to be in an environment where your nervous system can be regulated, right? Then you have love, belonging, connection needs. So networking events fill that. Having a good partnership fulfills that. Children, family, friends, on and on and on, right? Then you have the top 2 layers of the pyramid, and here's where everyone focuses on, which is self-esteem. Like, do I feel capable about things that come my way? Am I doing something that I'm good at? Do I respect myself? And then finally, self-actualization, which is like, I'm living my best life. I'm in my purpose. Like, life is good, right? People focus on the top 2 pieces, and yet they are dehydrated. They're not sleeping enough, eating Girl Scout cookies for lunch because they forgot to make something and now their hair is on fire. They're not getting sunlight. They're not moving their body. And they're like, God, why is my life a mess? It's because you're not paying attention to these things that are literally keeping you alive and like functioning at a cellular level. Like, you don't get to cut out those steps. I know it would be great, but that's not the way it works. And if you do, you're going to build on a house of cards, right?
Yeah.
So like, the habit that most people reading the book might need to start, especially us moms, like, maybe you need to prioritize sleep. Maybe it's not a morning routine. Maybe it's an evening routine, like a wind down. Maybe it's getting, yourself a basic girl water bottle, like the 40-ounce Stanley I'm holding up here, with a straw, so that you drink more water throughout the day, right? Okay, so then the final 2 stages, there's activate, which is where you actually design the behaviors that can become habits. If you can't get something to stick, it's probably not a you problem. It's a design problem. Like you probably made it too hard to do. So how can you make it easier? And then finally you ascend. You ascend into a better version of yourself, and then you amplify, you radiate, right? You're calling in what's meant for you, and then the process starts again. It's an upward spiral.
I want to go back to something you said earlier, and how do you integrate it into this framework? Two things here that are standing out to me. One is building the self-trust through a tiny, 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 tiny habit, and the awareness of that design. So how do you put those together? Because I think that so many people come to me and they're like, you're doing all these things. And now I'm so detached from it because I've been doing this work for so long that my morning routine, for example, and I actually do have a menu, which is so funny.
Oh, I love that.
I don't do the same thing every day. I do sit though with my mate, and I do sit for 5 minutes and I ask myself, what do I need? That is the only constant. How do they start building something that they actually stick to and building that self-trust, even if they feel like they're failing? Because they stop or they don't do it. What are some tangible things that they can do to get back to that and build awareness around that? So I think that people realize they haven't been doing it after a week. They haven't been doing it.
Yes. And the hardest day to do a habit is the day after you didn't do the habit. People say, oh, give yourself grace. And I think like we can sometimes use that as a
crutch.
Yeah. And an excuse, but also give yourself grace.
Yeah.
I think it's twofold. I think one with the awareness is like, what made you fall off the wagon, so to speak? Like just getting really curious. For me, usually the answer is I tried to do too much. I set my expectations too high.
Okay, so like my client, for example, that we were just talking about, she was like, I'm going to get the kids in the car and I'm going to leave them in the daycare and I'm going to get a 30-minute workout. And then, okay, that's a great example.
It's a really good one, right? Because if she wants to get in the habit of going to the gym every day, if you deconstruct all of the steps that go into that, one of the first things that's going to have to happen is putting on her gym clothes. That's probably like the first requirement. So maybe that becomes the goal, that I just put on my gym clothes, because it's now getting her in the headspace that she's going to the gym. And then everything else is like a bonus. This is actually a key of behavior design, by the way, is like you make it really, really small. Then getting the kids in the car. Ooh, wow. All right. That was a bonus.
Yes.
Oh, we got to the gym now and they're not losing their shit. They're not screaming. What I'm about to say, some of you are going to be like, no, that wouldn't count. But hear me out. What if it's like I'm dropping the kids at the daycare, even if they're screaming their heads off, if you're able to actually like exit and leave? Maybe it's like literally going on the elliptical for like 1 minute, just locking in the behavior and then going and getting them and going home. I mean, yes, we want to complete the thing if we can, but it's more about just wiring in doing the behavior. So keep it really small. Actually, Dr. BJ Fogg, who wrote Tiny Habits, the example he gives is when he wanted to start flossing his teeth, he flossed one tooth.
Exactly, because I'm gonna say, as I'm listening, my triathlete mind cannot even like stop. Like I'm like, I need to make a comment here. My brain is like, but I read James Clear book around the time that I studied triathlon, I don't know, like 12 years ago, after I needed to lose 40 pounds. You know, I gained 40 pounds with my pregnancy. I was not a runner. I was a couch potato. People don't know that until I tell the story. People are like blown away when I tell them that. And I actually used to put my shoes on. My goal was to put my shoes on and run to the corner. The corner, the light. That was like, I don't know, 300 meters? Not even, like, I don't even know. Like, and then I was like, well, I'm not going to stop here. And I ran a block. And you know, this different person,
yeah,
right, from business, and I talk about my triathlons all the time, that became a spring triathlon that my husband was like, hey, do you want to try this? Just because I kept talking about wanting to lose weight. And he bought me a 3 months training. And I was like, this is the most painful fucking shit I ever done. I'm never doing this again. Got to the finish line. I was like, I'm signing up for another one. And that was the beginning of a 10-year love affair where I ended up doing, I don't know, 5 half Ironmans.
Wow. Well,
It
and
all.
so I would be willing to bet part of that is like you got hooked on the feeling of being able to do the hard thing.
Mm-hmm.
But first, you got to start. How can you make it really satisfying to start with? So, like another key in behavior design, I just want to preface this too. Here's where all my like high achieving perfectionist clients that I work with, because those are the people I attract, they're like, oh, no, no, I'm not going to celebrate if I should be doing it anyway. Okay, no, if you're thinking this, stick with me. You want to celebrate the shit out of every time you remember to do the thing, while you do the thing, or immediately after you do the thing. And I'm talking
Yes,
milliseconds
yes, yes.
because, we're all addicted to our phones, right? We all like Instagram's got all of us over a barrel. Do you think that that's an accident? No. They designed it to be so satisfying to your brain that you'd keep doing it. And we all hear about dopamine addiction, blah, blah, blah. Use that same reward center to your benefit. When you do something, whether it is walking to the mailbox, whether it's eating something healthy, whether it's taking your vitamins, like taking a sip of water, whatever it is, celebrate it. And that doesn't have to be some big elaborate thing. Like the example I always give is if you were to take a piece of paper, wad it up in a ball, shoot it in the trash can and sink it, how do you react? It's like, oh yeah,
Woo!
yeah. Whatever the answer is to that, have that be the celebration. If you're in public and that feels awkward, just celebrate internally. When you do that, your brain's like, oh, that feels good. I'm getting that dopamine I love. What was I doing to trigger the dopamine release? And then it makes the connection. And now you begin to crave doing that behavior.
Wow, amazing. Amazing. So down to the tactile thing, right? To the actual thing that people need to be doing. I love that. Kind of want to like start wrapping it up, but I want you to give us a 24-hour challenge. That was kind of an idea that I had, that I was like, okay, what's one small habit shift that my listeners can actually try today that will make an immediate impact?
I want to keep this like open-ended enough that it'll apply to everyone. And if you're like, I already do that, then just think of something else that sets you up for success throughout your day. What I challenge all of your listeners to do, if they are not already, is to run their dishwasher at night and unload it first thing in the morning and then load it all throughout the day.
Okay. The fact that you're bringing that up, I'm going to say something. If I will say the one thing that I got out of your book, because people think that you read a book and you get 38 million things, but in reality, we read a whole book and there is one or two things that stick. My husband and I, this is like, I brought that up after I read your book. And we changed our routine. So what happened was he used to leave the dishes like there, and then I would have to do them. There was like a whole thing about it. And I already started the morning feeling like, what the fuck is going on here? There was like all these things that one thing was like threading, right?
Yep.
So we agreed that he would put everything in the dishwasher because he goes to sleep later than me. So he would load the dishwasher at night and I would unload it every morning.
And how have things improved since you began doing that?
I'm going to say having that, not only the kitchen looks clean because everything is in the dishwasher. So that's number one. So even though the dishwashers are not put away, the kitchen looks clean. Then while I put whatever I'm cooking for my kid for lunch, I'm putting it away. And also while my water, those are my two moments. It's effortless because I'm there waiting for the water to actually heat. I'm mindlessly at 5 a.m. putting that away.
Yep.
And the kitchen is clean the whole morning. Yep. So I work from home. So when I go to get more water, when I get like the kitchen is clean. So I'm never feeling and then another thing you're going to laugh, closing the laundry room. Shut the door, closing the door to the laundry room.
Okay. Is that because it like closes the loop in your mind? Like you don't see the visual reminder of the clothes you have to fold?
So two things. So we actually have somebody that does that for us once a week. But because it was there, my brain immediately giving me anxiety that I had to do it.
Yes. And that can be a form of procrastination, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. So for us, that was such a thing to have like when I come back from drop off, this is for everybody that tells me like some of those things don't matter. That shit matters so much. When I come back from drop off, my kitchen looks sparkling clean. So I don't have an excuse. I walk straight into my office and that's when my day starts.
You know, you underscored something I hadn't really considered before, and that is the importance of the dishwasher thing and keeping the kitchen clean for people who work from home. If you're going to an office and it's like out of sight, out of mind, that's actually quite an advantage in a lot of ways. If you work from home and every time you go into the kitchen, it's reminding you of like, oh, I'm a slob. I'm a piece of shit. Why does my house look like this? I have so many things to do. Like,
Like literally, that was my brain before we started this. And it was
yeah.
constantly like a negative self talk loop.
Yes. I mean, no joke. I have a client who kicked an Adderall addiction. The way that kicking it began was by her loading and running the dishwasher at night,
Yeah.
unloading it in the morning and loading it throughout the day because it signaled to her brain, wow, I'm really capable. Like, look at how
Yeah.
clean this place is. So I know it sounds crazy, but if you don't already do that, do it.
Also about your book and habits in general, each with our brain will tell you you're doing too little. But that is where the changes happen. When people ask me, girl, I used to be a couch potato bartender. I drank every night. 5 years later, I was a business owner running triathlons, right? Like when I even say it, I'm like, that just sounds fucking crazy.
Yeah.
But it all started by stopping the addiction to tell myself I was not good enough and letting go of, oh, everything needs to be a big thing. So part
Yeah.
of the conversation with my client this morning was like, why can you just do one post on a Monday and one post on a Thursday? And that can be enough.
I think often I fall into this trap too of like, oh, well, I don't have other content to follow this up with. So why even bother making the one? Like we constantly rationalize through this like all or nothing type of thinking. And it's actually like the Achilles heel. If you can let go of all or nothing, the go big, go home mentality that is so rampant, especially in America.
It's stupid.
Yeah, we got to let it go because like the shavings really do make a pile and doing these little things really do add up. You just got to give yourself enough time to watch it stack. And then that becomes the snowball in itself. You'll be like, okay, this thing that does seem insignificant, it actually is going to move the needle. I just got to stick with it. You know what? If something doesn't feel aligned anymore, get rid of it.
We have this idea that we cannot pivot. People, what are people going to think? Whatever news, people are not thinking about you.
They're not.
Somebody sent me a DM. I don't know if you saw, I posted something this week about like, I'm actually letting go of just doing photography on its own. And you and I talked about this, I think in person a few weeks ago, but I made a post about it. And so many people were like, that is so fucking scary. I'm like, it's not, because doing that alone is not aligned for me anymore. Like I am not that person anymore. So for me, it made complete sense, but I'm not going to lie. A year ago, that felt scary, right?
Yeah.
So you have to look at where you're at and what truly you are looking to create. And I'm like, I'm not looking to create a photography business anymore.
We get really like sentimental or attached to certain things. That's like a superpower. Like that's the real flex, is knowing when something's run its course and you can leave it behind. And sometimes that might mean cutting your losses. You know, if you started on something that's, let's just say it's like a coaching program you started. It's like, actually, I know I'm contractually obligated, but like this isn't aligned anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's draining me.
You know what is crazy? I actually signed up for 2 things last year and both were energetically not aligned. And I think that I made those decisions from a place of scarcity. Like the people I chose and all the things. And I was like, we're talking 25K between both programs. And I was like, they're not for me. I had to move on. And people think, are you crazy? I'm like, I'm not going to stay in a place just because I pay for it. I'm going to actually bring something else because I know there is science behind this. People are more prone to stay in something that they're investing in just because they actually invested time and money and they want to make that shit work, as opposed to actually saying, you know what, this is not work. Can you talk a little bit about the science behind that?
We love to be busy. We love to do things that we think are going to help us. And then sometimes they do for a time and then they no longer do. Like I'm in a program right now that like I think it was like $12,000 for the year. And like halfway through, I was like, this is not for me. But I signed a contract. I'm a woman of my word. So you know what? It's an expensive lesson, but I'm learning it, right? Here's the magic that happens when you make that decision and you let it go without resentment and without shitting all over yourself about it. You actually create space, and the metaphysical law of vacuum is able to apply. One of my mentors, actually Dr. Jen Chrisman, who wrote the foreword of the book, she's the one who taught me this. When you let something go, you make space. The energy that you let it go in is the energy in which it will be filled again. It's like the law of vacuum is like, you can't, like, nature abhors a vacuum. Like every void ends up getting filled somehow. It's like if you have a lot of cabinets in your house, when you moved in, you're like, I don't have enough shit to put in all these cabinets.
100%, a year later, everything's filled. Or
Everything's
your
filled.
closet.
Or your closet. Yes. Can't deal with empty space. Why that is, I don't know. That might be a fun thing to rabbit hole on at a later date. Like, let's use this coaching program that I'm still paying for and not using. I only have 2 months left of payments, thank God. I let it go saying, thank you, God, for teaching me what I needed to learn in this program, for learning things about myself.
Yes.
And I'm going to let this go, knowing that the money that I'm still spending on it, it will continue to circulate and bless. And I trust that what's meant for me will come in plus interest.
Yes.
Feels a lot different than like, I'm such a piece of shit that I'm wasting all this money
I know.
or something.
I feel like that is like the worst rabbit hole. And then that actually guilt is a very toxic emotion.
It
In
is.
everything, in motherhood, in money, in all of that. Two last questions. What is a personal habit of yours that people might find surprising?
Well, this won't be surprising to people who know me. I'm like really, really obsessed with keeping my car clean. Like, you could eat off the seats or the floor. Like,
That's amazing. In a podcast where we're all mom, business owners, that's pretty surprising. And I'm going to say, I actually made it my Monday habit to run my car through the washer
yep.
and vacuum my car every Monday. That's how I start my Monday, actually.
I go every week, sometimes twice a week. I have an unlimited package at the local car wash, which they lose money on me. And my husband too, he's the same way. And I just saw a reel about this and it pissed me off. I'm like, how many women are just accepting this as normal when, like, if you're a mom and your car is full of like goldfish cracker crumbs and soccer balls and cleats and fast food trash and empty water bottles and dirty Yeti tumblers, I am here to tell you to go clean out your fucking car. And here's why. I'm not exaggerating. You do that enough consistently and it will change your life. Because if you're in a car that's filthy, you're telling yourself that you can't be trusted. You can't steward things, that you're a slob. Really quick story. I shouldn't say names because I don't want to get sued in case this is not actually true. But a customer of my parents at their restaurant, he had worked with the CEO of a fast food company that every single one of you listening knows what this company is. Okay. It's a big one. And they were doing business travel and they got picked up by like a district manager who worked for this company. And his car was a mess. And the CEO of this mega corporation that every single one of you knows fired that guy and told him, if you cannot even keep your car clean, how can I trust you to run one of my restaurants?
Yeah.
Let alone multiple of my restaurants.
But we go back to the beginning. We go back to where we started, which is self-trust.
Yes.
And like not being overwhelmed and actually creating habits that actually make you feel good.
Kind of have to like dig out of the deficit, right? Like car cleaning is an easy one. It's a very finite amount of space. I want you to go empty it out.
That's a challenge.
Okay, yeah, this is the 20.
That's a challenge. 24-hour challenge.
Pick this one. Car or dishwasher, dealer's choice. You pick what you want, right? Clean out the car. And then every single time you get out of that vehicle, wherever you're stopping, there will be a trash can. I want you to take all the garbage and throw it away. When you get home, you take all the garbage, you throw it away. You take all of the jackets, all of the soccer balls, all of the whatever it is. I don't give a shit. You take all of it out and then you never have a problem. Thank you, Mom, for instilling that habit in me.
we're going to finish with this because we said it's going to be a 30-minute thing and impossible because this conversation is so juicy. I will say that when my closet starts getting like my side of the closet, it starts getting like things on the floor and things on the shelves and everything, my husband asked me, are you okay?
Mm. Mm.
And I started realizing when I see that now, I'm like, oh, that is the symptom of me going too fast, too many things at once. And I am not taking the time to pay attention to what's happening around me. That's actually a cue that I've been using. And I'm going to say right now, my closet is a little bit crazy. We had things happening yesterday. We had a crazy soccer tournament last week. My kid had all these games. And this morning, when I actually was getting ready for our interview, I was like, oh, this is my cue. Today, this needs to go because I need a moment to stop.
Yep.
So what are the cues that you can use for yourself that you know that when those happen, that's the symptom. That is not the problem. The car is a great one too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I love this.
Oh, yeah. Just watch how it will change your whole vibe if you start rolling around in your mom wagon or whatever it is you drive that is nice and clean. And you're coming home to a kitchen in which all of the dishes have been put in the dishwasher because you unloaded it that morning.
Life changing.
Yeah. It's gonna change the game for you. And
This
then you'll
is
be able
amazing.
to tackle the things that you actually care about.
And what I will say, because I want you to share with my people, like where they can get the book, how they can work with you, all the things. But I kind of want to wrap it up in a bow with this. If you think us talking about the dishwasher and your car has nothing to do with your business, you need to rewind and listen to this episode again, because every single one of those things will make a difference, especially if you're working from home, especially if you're a mom. People think that it's about the big, big, big changes, and it's not.
Nope.
Oh my God. I can't wait for people to read your book. So tell them all about it, where they can find you. Who do you work with?
My work is really for the woman that knows she was created for more and is just sick of feeling like she's banging her head against the wall, sick of running into limits, barriers. I mean, I'm like the least likely person to be teaching on habits because I am such a free spirit. I love spontaneity. I love variety. I teach it in a way where you can have it all. Maybe not all at the same time. It's an ebb and a flow, right? You learn to get in right relationship. But yeah, if you're wanting to go to the next level in whatever it is in your life, habits are the key to get you there. So I would love to help you with that. Reading the book is definitely a great place to start. It's available on Kindle, paperback, hardcover, and on Audible. Probably the best place to find all of those, either just go to Amazon and search Higher Self Habits or go to Alessia Citro, ALESSIACITRO.com/book. And I'm most active on Instagram too, if you want to connect over there.
Yeah, and I will make sure
Link
that
it all
the links are on the show notes. I knew it was going to be amazing. Thank you for
having me. This was a fun, juicy conversation. Lots of good nuggets in here. So thank you for thank you for the time.